Your lordships will remember that I made a very narrow argument, which was I looked at 4 or 5 sections, read the sections.
Yeah, well, you have to prima facie convince us that it is so.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to do that, Mullahs. And Mullahs, kindly just keep one thing in mind. A section cannot be read in the context of what is set out in the counter affidavit.
Yes.
Nor it can be read on the basis of what written submissions have been made. You have to see the section on its own terms. Right, Mullahs? Therefore, let's see 3C. Any government property identified or declared as Waqf property before or after the commencement of this act shall not be deemed to be Waqf property. That's a declaration. If any question arises as to whether such property is government property, the state may, by notification, designate an officer above the rank of a collector who shall conduct an inquiry as per law and determine whether such property is a government property or not and submit his report to the state government. So he has to make a determination. What is the determination that he makes? That this is government property. Obvious, Mother, from the plain language. So he has to first determine that it is government property. Then it says, provided that no such property shall be treated as Waqf property till the designated officer submits his report. So 2 propositions arise from there. Proposition number 1, before he determines anything, before he inquires into anything, it shall not deem to be a Waqf. Under what principle of law can that be substantiated and upheld? Which principle of law? Before you start an inquiry, on the basis of any question that may arise, the question will arise in your mind or somebody files an application. And the moment that question arises, till such time as he submits a report, what report? That it is government property. Determine. It's not a Waqf. So under which principle of law can this be sustained? Not his counter affidavit, nor his written submissions, nor his saying title remains with me, possession remains with me. I cannot be evicted. Where did he get from the statute? Sorry. It's not there in the statute. You have to read the statute. There are judgments of this court say, read the language of the statute and interpret the language. So point number 1, the declaration that it's deemed to be treated as Waqf property till he submits his report without any basis because there is a question that has arisen is per se unconstitutional. Per se unconstitutional. And he has not answered that. No time limit as to when he is to submit his report. So it will be treated as not as Waqf property. No time limit. No inquiry. It's before inquiry. That's point number 1. Point number 2.
That means it is after the inquiry starts.
Yes.
But prior to the report.
Yes. So, Mullahs, he may take 6 months, he may take 1 year. So I have lost my right as a community, has lost his right as a Waqf. If you don't, will you allow me, sir? I did not interrupt you for a minute. I request my learned friend not to do so. But that's, you sighed. Let me say. This is the only mode. This is the only mode. There is no other law. And the expression law in subsection 2 is as vague as it can be because we don't know what that law is. Now the counter affidavit says, no, sir, but you will be heard. Very good. So now the counter affidavit will decide what that procedure will be. The statute will not. How does the title remain with me, Manoj? As he said, he's already determined. That's after he gives the report. I'm not. Before that, I've already made my submission. He's already determined that this is government property. Then only will the revenue entry be changed, Manoj, because it's sequential. After determination, in case the designating officer determines the property to be government property, he shall make necessary corrections. So the corrections can't be made till he determines it's government property. Therefore, Manoj, it's not just a revenue record change, which is the basis of his argument under 3C. Then how does he say? It's just a change of revenue records. And what's the explanation for this, Manoj? None. And it's irreversible, Manoj. Irreversible. The right of the community is taken away merely because there is a question that arises. Right, Manoj? And this particular section relates only to government property. I made these submissions, Manoj, earlier, not answered. Answered by the counter affidavit, but I say the title will remain his, possession will be his, he can't be evicted. Why? Who says that? Now, Manoj, kindly see the definition of, in 3R, the proviso, which we've been, Manoj, reading. So now I've dealt with government property. Let's be dealing with something else, which is much worse. No, not use it. No, I'm just saying something else. Kindly see. See, the Waqf means any person making such dedication.
So the
3R proviso. May I read it? My lords, much just my here. Provided that the existing Waqf by user properties, registered on or before the commencement of this Act of 2025 as Waqf by user, will remain as Waqf properties, except that the property wholly or in part is in dispute or is a government property. So if you take the government property, Waqf as user, that 3C will apply. And the same
would apply.
It's government property.
While determination.
Sorry?
If the collector initiates process for determination.
Yes.
Then only 3R would.
Yes, so it says now, except property wholly or in part in dispute or is a government property.
Somebody will have to claim that it is a government property.
That's correct. Who will claim? Not I.
The government.
Yes. And how will he claim? By going to the tribunal. Because I am occupying it. I take example, but a simple thing. Whereas I am very simple. I have a burial ground. It's remained there for 200 years. There are so many burial grounds in this country who were there for 200 years. Now, we don't know how it happened to be that. But burial is an essential part, is integral to the Islam. Right? After 200 years, the government says, no, this is my property. Can burial grounds be taken over for?
No, but if you have registered, if you scheme the Act from 1923, or 1923, though technically you may be right that there was no provision for registration technically, but the information was required to be given to the authority. And then from 19...
Information to the court.
Whether we don't compete with that young girl.
Yes and no, I'll not.
Yeah. Then
Absolutely right.
Continuously from 1954, the registration is required, and that 1976 report also. Yes. We can read that report as to why registration was found to be.
I am at one.
It is not as if that from 1923 till 2025, over a period of 100 and odd years, if the scheme of various enactment has emphasized on a registration, and if somebody has not registered.
Correct. I must answer that. No? I'm going to answer it, and I have a full answer for it.
Therefore, because we believe in having an open dialogue.
Correct. I have a full answer because I knew that that question will come from your lordship. But at the moment I'm reading the section, I'll answer that immediately. I'm reading the section at the moment, my lordship. It may not be 100 years old, it may be 3 years old.
3 years old, if it is registered, it will be protected.
But it may not be registered. Waqf by user may not be registered. I'm coming, there's a judgment of the Supreme Court, any number of judgments, it need not be registered. That's settled law by the Supreme Court. Settled law. So I'll come to that later, but I know what is in your lordship's mind. That's why I'm not wasting too much time, just going straight to the point. Because I don't want to just dilly-dally.
We must tell you what is in our mind so
Correct.
that we can get the answer.
Absolutely. Now, therefore, let's leave that out for a moment. Waqf by user of government property. Come to this, or in part is in dispute. It's a private person. If it is in dispute, Malaj, then how is it not waqf? Government property is 3C. But is dispute.
There is no such procedure for any property with regard to private property like 3C.
Yes.
So it's only 83 where the people, if somebody is disputing.
Yes. What will happen is, here the survey is not there now. I'm just giving your lordships an example. There's a private dispute, waqf. Under the law, it's no longer a waqf. But just by this expression is in dispute. At least, Malad, in 3C, there's a determination that it is government property. There is no such determination here. There is no procedure of determination. There is no reference as to how this dispute is going to be determined. There is a declaration by law, by the legislature, that if there is any dispute, it shall not be waqf at all between two private parties. Under which law can this be sustained? Can't be.
Yes.
Now, your lordship, very important question. You also said, what is waqf by user? I give you a note because I'm going to answer that question. But your lordship has it?
Yeah, can we?
Yes.
Tables up, can we?
Yeah, we just give it. No.
We are giving.
One second. Now, just briefly, orally, I'll tell your lordships. In the 1954 Act, for the first time, they said these mutawallis are not the kind of persons who should be handling all this because they won't register. In the 23 Act. And then ultimately, Malaj, it was decided that there should be a survey. And for the first time, that was decided in 1954. That we now must survey these properties to find out what is waqf and what is not. 54. Then came 1995. And in 1995, there was a whole procedure. Nothing had been done. That's not mutawalli. It's the states who were to survey, not the mutawalli.
That's what Mr. Rauf also said, that his petition is pending from 19. That
No, but I'll show even more egregious because I'll give you data now. There are only 2 waqfs registered in Delhi.
Serious.
There is 0 waqf registered in Jammu Kashmir. But anyway, that's their data, not mine. But I just point that out as to why this happened. Why this has happened, I'm pointing out. In 1995, there was an elaborated procedure. That no, we must go and we must do it very quickly. Nothing done. No state government acted. Then in 2013, they said, okay, you guys have not acted since 1954. Now these surveys must be over in 1 year. I'm answering the question why they were not registered. The argument is they were not registered, so they lose their character as waqf. I am telling your lordships why they were not registered. The failure of the state government to not do their job. From 1954 to 2025. And that failure, with that failure of the state government, the community is going to be punished because it was not registered. That's the argument.